Hello and welcome to another episode of Dime.Scheduler in under 10 minutes. In this video, I'll show you how you can plan sales orders in Business Central using Dime.Scheduler. When it comes to sales orders, there's no way to predict how companies will plan, which makes it impossible for us to create one single solution for everybody. Fortunately, Dime.Scheduler was designed in such a way to let people compose their own solutions rather than to use our conventions and insights. I'll keep it simple and use an example of a store that sells and installs furniture in people's homes. So let's dig in and see how it works. Let's take a quick tour of what we're currently seeing on screen. I've opened the browser with two tabs. The current active tab shows our trusty planning tool, Dime.Scheduler, and in the second tab we will find a standard version of Business Central Cloud. I've set up this user profile to accommodate the type of planning that we'll do in this particular use case. So we'll have an open tasks list at the top left corner of the screen that shows all the work that still needs to be scheduled. Scheduling is done through drag and drop from this list to the planning board, which is the component that we see in the middle of the screen. We find our list of resources on the left, while in the timeline we see their schedule. We also have a capacity and planning pivot grid to help us decide who's overbooked and who's underbooked. And then we also have a map component to help us decide and determine the best route and the best person for the job. As always, the story starts in Business Central and it ends there as well. So if you want to plan sales orders, you have to make sure that there is a sales order available in Business Central. So let's do that and create a new sales order in Business Central. This is going to be all standard functionality, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here and just create a new sales order quickly. I'll select a customer, obviously, and then the item that we've sold. There we go. Let's pick an item that we then have to go install at the customer site. And this is pretty much all we need to start planning in this sales order. When you install the extension for Dime.Scheduler in Business Central, that will add some buttons and fields across Business Central to link those tables to the planning tool. For a sales order, you just have to go to the Actions menu in the ribbon, expand the Dime.Scheduler submenu, and then you can send the order to the open task list, and then we can start looking for the right installation staff. So let's click the send order, and then we can go back to Dime.Scheduler. Back in Dime.Scheduler, we can now see our sales order 16 is available in the open task list. And once a record appears in this list, it is completely up to the planner to determine what will happen next. If he already knows who's going to do it, all he'll need to do is drag and drop this task onto the planning board and the processing can continue in Business Central. But oftentimes the planner may want to use some more suggestions and get some guidance from a tool like Dime.Scheduler to find the right resource. For this use case, I certainly would like to consider the location of our staff and where that order needs to take place. If there's a location known, you can click on the item in the open task list, and then it will add a marker to the map to show the location of that order. So you can see this blue marker is displaying the site for sales order 16. The purple markers are the locations of our resources. So then we can create a trip and see how long it would take for a resource to get to that site. So in case of Richard Clarkson, it will take about 40 minutes to get to that site. We can have a look at our planning board to see if that would be realistic for him to get to that site without compromising his other scheduled work. We could potentially also use the capacity and planning pivot grid, which is a different representation of our schedule. It will compare the projected capacity to what's on the planning board. So you can see in this case again for Richard Clarkson, he's quite open for the week. So he has a capacity rate of 0% for Wednesday, or in other words, he has 8 hours left to plan. So he could be a good candidate for the job based on his location and based on his availability. But as usual, these are just suggestions. The planner doesn't have to follow these. It's up to the planner to decide who's going to do that order. So I can override that and plan that order in for somebody else, which I'll do here, and I'll send it to Johnny Marr for Thursday. So it all leads up to simple drag and drop, and then we can continue the processing in Business Central. So I can take this task, drag it and drop it to the right date and time and for the right resource. There we go. And as soon as you drop an order to the planning board, we'll make sure to reach out to this underlying record in Business Central and update with the most relevant information. For a sales order, we're going to do 2 things in our standard connector. We can go back to the order by right-clicking on the appointment, go to the links, and then we can go to our sales order in Business Central. This just opens up a new tab in the browser and will take us back to this order 16. The first thing that we'll do is create a resource line that holds the same information as the appointment on the planning board. If we scroll down a little bit, we'll see a new line appear with the type resource for Johnny Marr. That takes about 4 hours. And then if we scroll to the right, we can see the same dates as the block on the planning board. We'll also update the planned or the promised delivery date. So you can see this date has been set by the appointment on the planning board. This can be configured through some setup in Business Central. I also quickly wanted to show you that it is possible to create appointments directly onto the planning board from sales orders. To do that, you have to go to the Dime.Scheduler setup page, navigate to the sales module, and then make sure to switch on this toggle to send the resources with the order. If that's on, it will send items in the line section of type resource directly onto the planning board. So in this case, I have a resource Johnny with a quantity of 8 hours for the date of the 23rd of February. If I send this order to Dime.Scheduler, it will not show up as an open task, but it will create an 8-hour appointment for this day directly onto the planning board. So we can go to the actions, go to Dime.Scheduler, send the order. And if we go to the planning tool, we'll see for the 23rd, this appointment appears directly onto the planning board. And as you can expect, it is possible to synchronize this planning with people's Outlook calendars, and perhaps these people, the installation staff, may want to use our mobile app. It depends on their use case. So I've logged in for Johnny Marr, so I should see these 2 appointments should appear in his Outlook calendar right away. So you can see this 1016 and order 1017 appears in his Outlook calendar as well. For the people on the road, they may consider using our mobile app, which we can see right here, that provides capabilities for the resources rather than the planner. I've logged in again for Johnny, so we should see the exact same schedule in his mobile app as well. And as always, he can click or tap on an appointment to see more information and perhaps get even driving instructions to get to that customer site. To get a sense of how Dime.Scheduler can fit in to plan your sales orders, you have to use your imagination a little bit. But as long as our visual components provide the capabilities that you need, you can plan anything and anyone in any way you want to. For more information, check out our website Dime.Scheduler.com and get your free demo. Until then, I'll see you in the next episode.